Commission resumes. You're still at the oath, Mr. Cedar. Before the cross-examination continues, there are two things I want to say. The first is that as a result of this splendid lunch that we had, we're running half an hour behind. I've spoken to Mr. Chesterton to see whether that means we have to squeeze out the others who are due to cross-examine. He thinks not. We may have to do some reduction of times, but that we're going to look at tea time to see whether we can handle that. That's the first thing. The second thing is we have finally received, I don't know how many months after we originally asked for it and was promised, we finally received from the police the lessons the police say they've learnt from this exercise. And I want to thank Mr. Pretorius for all the efforts he's made in order to get that document for us. We now have it, and we will have to give it an exhibit number. Presumably it will be quadruple Y. We just call it police lessons. Sorry? Yes, when of course, I was forgetting a very important thing. The council who is also very much involved in this is Mr. Semenya, and I think it's necessary for me to thank them both for all the efforts they made to get this document for us, which I think should assist us. So it's quadruple Y, police lessons. Mr. Chesterton?
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Cedar, would it be correct that from the time that Lonmin started its hostel conversion process, first of all, it was aware that there was an existing critical shortage of accommodation? Let's take them one by one.
Well, when they submitted the SLP, they had a waiting list of, I think, 5,000 people who wanted housing. Yeah.
And also at the same time, Lonmin knew that the hostel conversion problem was going to aggravate this problem.
It was anticipated. If you read the SLP, it clearly anticipates that the de-densification of the hostels means that people who have to live elsewhere. But when the SLP had been submitted in 2006, it said it's still addressing how they're going to do that in conjunction with the banks.
Well, let's go to those SLPs, because what I want to put to you is that you can't separate the hostel conversion obligation from the house construction obligation. If you read the SLPs, they're clearly two sides of the same coin.
Could I add just a little more to that? And in fact, you are right. And with the wisdom of hindsight, even the anticipation to build 5,000 houses was probably not the right thing to estimate, because you had to provide for a lot more than 5,000 homes, because as people left the hostels, that waiting list would have grown even bigger and bigger. As we see currently, it's circa around 15,000 people.
Well, Mr. Cedar, I want to put you that the true situation is slightly different, that the SLP expressly anticipated that people leaving the hostels would be a problem, and that's why houses had to be built for them. I'll take you to the passages.
Sure.
Let's go to quadruple S2, pages 79 to 80.
So I've got quadruple S4 and S5.
S2 is your bundle, volume 1.
Volume 1.
And if we could have quadruple S2, pages 79 to 80 up. We don't have a video operator. I'll continue in the absence of one. At the bottom, sorry, Craig. And you'll see that 79 deals with hostel accommodation. And then there's a paragraph A dealing with the career accommodation complex. And then the second last paragraph. To cater for those employees who will no longer be accommodated in hostels in the 2006-7 and 2007-8 financial years, owing to the conversion of 11 hostel units, houses to be built at Marikana Extension 2 will be available for purchase or rental. In addition, houses will be built on the existing hostel stand, which does not need to go through the township establishment to provide for further accommodation. So the hostel conversion is going to push people out into the housing market. The SLP shows where they're going to be accommodated.
That provides that the houses will be built to be available for purchase or rental. So it wasn't
I am going to get there, Chair. And then in the next paragraph, to cater for those employees who will no longer be accommodated in hostels in the subsequent financial years, 08, 9, 9, 10, 11, 10, 11, owing to the conversion of a further 15 hostel units. Houses and flats will be built in an area to the east of the present hostel, which will effectively be an extension of Marikana Extension 3. This area is, however, still to be approved for township establishment purposes. Provision will be made for sport, recreation, and retail facilities. And if we go through each one of these hostel conversion promises, page 80, you'll deal with the Wonderkop conversion. You'll see exactly the same. Hostels will be converted. There'll be people who we now need to accommodate because of it. This is how we're going to house them. We're going to build houses. 81, Eastern Flats conversion. Same thing. To cater for those employees who will no longer be accommodated in the hostels in 2006-07, houses to be built at Marikana Extension 2 will be available for purchase or rental by employees. So at the time of the submission of the SLPs, Lonmin realized that its house building program was a necessary counterpart to its hostel conversion program. Do you accept that?
Yes.
Now, the hostel conversion program, as we understand it, is finally going to be completed at the end of this year, 2014.
That's correct.
That's 3 years behind schedule, but better late than never. Now, we know that the converted hostels produced some units where the hostels used to be, and there were 3 show houses that you told us about in your evidence in chief. Now, apart from those, how many houses has Lonmin built for its workers in the last 10 years?
If you talk of the last 10 years, I'm not exactly sure when the MHDC houses were built, but if you exclude those and the houses that there are some other houses built at the same time as MHDC houses, I would say from about 2006 onwards, besides the 3, no other houses.
So no other houses, none at all?
Since 2006, yes.
It's actually since 2005, Mr. Sidat. The record of Lonmin in relation to house construction is, I can give the references, it's quadruple S2, page 1057. You built 1149 houses in volume 3, 1149 in 1999 and 2000. That's 14 years ago, 15 years ago. And if you were to go to quadruple S5, page 244, you'll see that the last time Lonmin built houses was in 2004, because there it describes 369 houses next to Korea Mine and 218 Wonderkop that were built between 2000 and 2004, bringing the total number of houses that we have built to 1798. So in the last decade, Lonmin has built 3 show houses, but nothing more beyond the hostel conversion, which has aggravated the housing shortage.
That's right.
Now, if I understood your evidence in chief, your position is this is not a breach of the commitments you made in your social LOPA plan, because there was no commitment to spend Lonmin money on housing. Only some sort of vague commitment to assist in a market-driven private interaction between employees, banks, and builders. Is that correct?
Well, the SLP, as it is written, and I'm on that page right now, Lonmin Platinum intends to facilitate the building of these houses through entering into partnerships with banking institutions, and in this regard has commenced discussions with the Rand Merchant Bank, who are likely to provide the necessary funding. And you see a reference to banking facilities in other places in the SLP as well.
Well, let me take you to some of them. Let's go to page 79 of SSS2, where you deal. We'll start with the hostel conversion process, because we know that Lonmin put its own money into the hostels. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
And if we look at page 79, we see language which says this. Process going forward. The number of hostel blocks that will be converted during the period from 2006 to 2011 and the capital budget required to give effect to such conversion is as follows. Then there are numbers and there's a capital budget, 145.9 million. Now that's Lonman's own money, isn't it?
No, sir. If you talk of a capital budget, it doesn't mean it's Lonman's money.
Well,
it's a budget for a project.
Yes, but how did this happen? Who borrowed the money, or who borrowed the money for the hostel conversion process?
Now, the point I'm making is this budget was prepared in terms of the costs of doing the conversions. Clearly, at some point, Lonman decided that financial institutions are not coming to the party and then put its own money into these projects.
Well, is that so? Did Lonman not borrow the money from a financial institution itself for the hostel conversion process?
You can't say that Lonman or WPL or EPL went to a bank and said, give me this money to convert these hostels. They would have used funds available to them, which would include retained earnings and which would include any facilities they already had with banking institutions, both locally and abroad.